Welcome, welcome one and all to Howl-O-Ween! Ow! Hello, friends. Once again, it is that spirited and spooky season. And so, I offer you Howl-O-Ween, where we look at some classic horror pictures. Mummies, am I right? There's just something about those bandaged baddies. The original mummy was an unstoppable killer from ancient times who used Egyptian magic to keep himself alive. He went around putting the chokehold on anyone who got in his way. But your basic mummy, an undead living dead dude, isn't all there is to mummy movies. No, there's lady mummies too. From the first Mummy movie in 1932, the idea was introduced that lady mummies could be reborn somehow. See, the original mummy was an Egyptian priest who was in love with a young, hot, sexy chick princess. But then the young, hot, sexy chick princess died, and this here priest committed sacrilege in the pursuit of love. He tried to use the Scroll of Thoth, the Book of the Dead, to bring his young, hot, sexy chick princess, now a cold, dead, unsexy chick princess, back to life. He was caught in the act and turned into a living mummy to forever guard the dead princess's tomb. Flash forward several thousand years, and he was accidentally released by some dopey archaeologists. He then met up with another, alive young hot sexy chick who was a dead ringer for his lady love. The young hot sexy chick princess who was now cold, dead, and unsexy. He figured he could use his Egyptian magic to take the spirit of his once young hot sexy chick princess and insert it into the alive young hot sexy chick, and thereby reunite with his young hot sexy chick princess who would be alive and not dead, which is unsexy. In other words, giving the now dead once hot sexy chick princess a mummy makeover. Ever since, this has been the basic formula for mummy movies. The mummy reanimating and finding himself a chick that looks just like his lost love. He may or may not pursue inserting the dead princess's spirit into the living chick, but he always seems to run into a chick who reminds him of the dead princess. Anyway, I have some movies for you that put a twist on that formula, courtesy of none other than Bram Stoker of Dracula fame. In 1903, he wrote a novel about a mummy, well before Howard Carter dug up King Tut, let alone before any of the mummy movies and before mummy lore, as we know it, was established with Universal's famous mummy picture in 1932. The book is called The Jewel of the Seven Stars, and that book was vaguely, very vaguely, adopted for these pictures. First up, we have Blood from the Mummy's Tomb, a Hammer film from 1971. In this one, an evil, hot, sexy chick Egyptian priestess uses her magic powers to send her spirit on an astral quest. Meanwhile, the priests think she's dead and chop off her hand to celebrate. They didn't like her because although she was hot and sexy, she was evil. They shove her in her tomb and call it a day, but it turns out she isn't really dead and takes revenge from beyond. Eventually, she influences a team of dopey archaeologists to make them gather her prized possessions and her body, which she needs in order to be restored to regular life. Right now, she's just laying there, all hot and sexy, for thousands of years in a sort of suspended animation. You'll notice she doesn't have the usual mummy wrappings, because that came later in mummy stories. Still, technically, she's a mummy. Talk about a MILF. But hey, why keep the old model when you can have a new one, right? Especially when she looks just like you. The instant her tomb is opened by the dopey archaeologists, the leader's wife gives birth to a daughter. After about 20 years or so, she's suitably all hot and sexy and ready for a mummy makeover via takeover. This evil priestess is gonna simply move into the daughter's sexy young body and live again. Naturally, people try to stop her, but she has these incredible magical powers. Besides those. Jeez. There's a lot of familiar British character actors here. Andrew Kerr plays the daughter's dad, George Coulouris, Rosalie Crutchley, David Markham, and James Villers are all in this one. Peter Cushing was supposed to be in this movie as the sexy chick's dad, but he had to bow out. Valerie Leon plays the dual hot sexy chick role as the dead hot sexy chick priestess, who isn't really dead, as well as the alive young hot sexy chick daughter. As I say, the movie didn't have a traditional bandaged wrapped mummy, which people probably expected, and one reason it maybe didn't fare too well at the box office. But hey, it does have Valerie Leon in this sexy outfit, so it works for me. With a figure like that, who in their right mind wants her wrapped up in bandages? Am I right? This one was only very loosely based on Bram Stoker's story, which brings us to our second film, The Awakening from 1980, which is also only very loosely based on the Jewel of Seven Stars. In The Awakening, an obsessed archaeologist is digging in Egypt. His wife is along and is carrying a baby. She's kind of a pain because her hubby is spending all day with his young assistant, and she feels left out and jealous. Anyway, the pair stumble on a tomb which contains a mummy. This is a real mummy, not Valerie Leon in a skimpy outfit. Unfortunately, just as they open said tomb, the wife gives birth to a baby daughter. You guessed it, the kid is Mummy Makeover Chow. As we flash forward some 18 years, we find our hero is still obsessed with this here mummy. Just as the stars literally come into alignment, the chick has grown up and she starts going wacko under the mummy's influence. Talk about Mummy Dearest. This movie didn't do very well. Director Mike Newell previously worked in television. The Awakening was his first theatrical effort. He went on to helm Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, 4 Weddings and a Funeral, and several installments of Young Indiana Jones. In our cast, we have Charlton Heston, of course. Susanna York plays the assistant and love interest. Laura Holt from Remington Steele, Stephanie Zimbalist, plays the daughter and the target of the mummy takeover. Jill Townsend is here as Heston's first wife. I remember her from the original version of Poldark. Great series. She actually quit acting after this picture. She said she was out there in the desert standing around at 4 in the morning waiting for the sun to rise so they could get a particular shot, and she just sort of was standing there and asked herself, why the hell am I doing this? So she gave up acting. And finally, there's the Emperor himself. Ian McDermott is here as Dr. Richter. Man, dig that fright wig. The Awakening brings the spookiness in several scenes, but it is kind of a bit of a slog to get there. It's a slow boil, almost as if someone forgot to turn the burner on. It wants to have the same vibe as The Changeling, which also came out that same year, but well, it's just not as good. But it does have some good things. Some of the events are legit creepy. Much of the tombs and sites and museums and things we see are real, since a lot of this was shot on location in Egypt and Great Britain. The legendary Jack Cardiff was the cinematographer, so the look of the picture is very good. I don't know what happened with this one. It didn't fare well at the box office, as I say, and Siskel and Ebert hated it. There is another movie version of The Jewel of 7 Stars, if you're interested, from 1998. It's called Bram Stoker's Legend of the Mummy. This one is supposed to be terrible, and admittedly I haven't seen it yet. Stars Lou Gossett Jr. though. Let me know down in the comments if you like that one. But if you're looking for a somewhat more faithful adaptation of Stoker's book, there was a TV version from 1970, which predates all of these, that's worth checking out, from a British anthology series called Mystery and Imagination. This one is called The Curse of the Mummy. Probably the only name brand in this was Graham Crowden, who plays the dad. Isabel Black plays the sexy chick, both alive and dead. This one was shot on videotape like the old Doctor Who. Some people don't care for that look, but I'm used to it and it never bothered me. It's available on Amazon Prime and really pretty good, and worth a watch if you like old British TV. Of the two movies, I guess I'd recommend The Awakening. It's more serious of a picture, with a better, more cohesive narrative. Not a bad watch if you've never seen it. Great cast, but just be warned, it is on the slow side. And it doesn't have Valerie Leon. Or her magic powers. So there you have it. Mummy makeovers via takeovers. Man, I wouldn't mind taking over a hot, sexy chick, but not like these mummies do. It's a different way, if you know what I mean.